want to talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves here for a quick second, and then how the sky's not falling with the Lakers. That they'll be fine. Do you think the Timberwolves are just the better team? I think it's really, really difficult to make a case after one game of who's the better team in this series. I think Minnesota played exactly how they had to play. Let me give you guys an example. If you guys remember last week, and last week I was learning a lot more about Minnesota as well. I'm not watching the Timberwolves every single night. Had a couple of guests on that watch the Minnesota Timberwolves every single game, or Alan Horton, who does the radio play-by-play, does the radio for them. Had a great conversation with him right before the game as well. But here's what I learned about Minnesota. And this was the point that I was trying to make going into game one. If this becomes hero ball with Anthony Edwards, this is a rout. The series isn't going to be much. No, there isn't one player that can just take on a squad by himself. Look at Giannis. They lose by 20 against the Indiana Pacers. Giannis, as great as he is, you're not winning a series unless you got Dame and you got help. And Kuzma had zeros across the board. I think we all saw that on X yesterday or the day before. I'll give you another example. I've been saying this about Denver. If Jamal Murray's not healthy, as great as Nikola Jokic is, they're just not – you just can't get through a playoff round. Maybe you get through one round if it's a very, very favorable matchup. Anthony Edwards is not beating the Lakers by himself. Where I want to give Minnesota a lot of credit, and this is the only way that I think they beat the Lakers 4 times, or they replicate what they did in that last matchup on Saturday. Guys, you got to have 4 or 5 guys that are contributing. Ant didn't even really have a good game. I think it was 8 of 22 from the field. That's not a good game. Now, he had 9 assists. I think that's where, and I'm not telling you that Anthony Edwards is Steve Nash or he's Mike Conley, which is like a natural point guard that's distributing the ball. That's not his game. Ant is I'm going to go get mine. I'm a scorer. That's kind of that's in his DNA. But if you think that Anthony Edwards is going to get through a playoff round at age 23 and he doesn't need Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid and Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, you got to have 4 or 5 guys minimum that are all contributing in order for Minnesota to win. Give Minnesota credit. But just to give everyone an idea, Jaden McDaniels is not going 9 of 11 from the field probably for another year. That's not going to happen. You're just not going to shoot that high of a clip. Was he 9 of 11? I think he was 9 of 11. That's not going to happen every single game. Naz Reid, God bless him because he's always killed the Lakers, was phenomenal against the Lakers. Lakers will make some adjustments. How about this? How about you make Naz Reid put the ball on the floor and not hit or not shoot threes most of the time uncontested? Why don't we be a little bit smarter on the defensive side with Naz Reid? Make the man take the ball to the basket and not get into this rhythm shooting, which he absolutely loves from the three-point line. I want to give Minnesota a ton. They shot 50% from 3. Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels played like Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan in the 96 finals, right? They were phenomenal. And it's not that I don't think that the Minnesota Timberwolves can have that type of performance again. I just hesitate that that's going to happen 4 times. Now, listen, maybe this is all on the Lakers. Maybe for Minnesota, I was listening to, I think it's called Score North, SKOR North is the podcast, and it's a Timberwolves podcast. And there's 3 guys that were on there, and I was listening to it yesterday. And, some of the points that they were making, first off, the points they were making were, look at all these people who are experts. All of them pick the Lakers. Everyone's picking the Lakers. I pick Lakers in 6. I'll stand by that. We'll see what happens the rest of the series. But they were, spending a lot of time talking about, I don't understand why nobody's even given Minnesota credit. This is who the Timberwolves are. And they went into a couple of points that I thought were interesting. They said that Julius Randle, who had a bad game, had 7 turnovers. Statistically, his numbers looked okay, but he wasn't efficient from the field, and he had 7 turnovers. They said Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards didn't play well, and they still blew out the Los Angeles Lakers. All right, that part's concerning, right? If those 2 players didn't have good games, these are guys that are watching the Minnesota Timberwolves every single night. If they didn't have good games and Lakers still lost by 20 plus, but as much as I want to give Minnesota credit because they deserve it, I don't think Jaden McDaniels is going to have the same type of game that he had. And I think the Lakers they're a much better team than what they showed on Saturday night. We could be sitting here 48 hours from now, and I'm doing my show on Wednesday, and Lakers finish game 2, and maybe they're down 0-2. And maybe, my confidence in the Lakers just starts plummeting, and maybe the squad isn't nearly as good. But I don't think the bench is going to be as awful as they were. I don't think LeBron's going to be as bad as he was. I don't think Austin Reeves, who was a complete non-factor in this game, I don't think he's going to be as bad as he was as well. And I don't think the Lakers are going to get punked again. That's my expectation. Could they very well get punked again and everything that I'm predicting is way off? Sure, that can happen. That, of course, can happen. But I just have a difficult time watching the Lakers play over these last couple of months. That was just an awful representation of what the Lakers have been and how they got the number 3 seed. So I do feel like there will be a bounce back game tomorrow. I do feel like there's a lot of pressure on the Lakers. And I think in a weird way, they're better off with pressure than with no pressure. LeBron didn't look concerned. Luka didn't look concerned. JJ didn't look concerned. Nobody looked concerned. Lakers look like they took a haymaker to the chin, and they got to get back up and figure it out. I'm not trying to take any credit away from Minnesota because I think they truly, genuinely deserve all the credit. I thought Chris Finch was phenomenal in saying, "Go Bear." I don't know how much you can help us in this series. And listen, Gobert still finds ways. Lakers get to the basket if Gobert's there. You got the 7-footer that you're trying to shoot over. Obviously, he has a great understanding of the defensive side of the ball. But he also went away from Gobert and was like, yeah, I'm going to go with Naz Reid, which I think that is their best lineup, is when they go smaller, they could switch everything. They got a lot of athletic guys, and I think that had a lot to do with it as well. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments. So, Alicia, I hope that answers that question. Anthony, thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Little 5 spot there, right there. Very nice of you to do so. Let's take a look at some of the comments. Lakers bench outscored by 30. It's pathetic. Minnesota's got depth. They have real depth. Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, and Nickeil Walker-Alexander are 3 really, really nice players. And all of them kind of offer something a little bit different. And all of them have different strengths. So I expect Lakers to get outscored by the bench. I expect Minnesota's bench to outscore the Lakers. That part is not a shocker. But when you have Dalton Knecht leading the Lakers bench with 5 points, and the only reason why he led the Lakers bench is because the Lakers were getting their asses kicked and they went to the bench, including Bronny and some of these other players, that's not a good sign. Dorian Finney-Smith's got to get you 10 points. Gabe Vincent's got to get you 10 points. They got to be more impactful in the game, and they weren't. So that part, I don't know how much that's going to change from the bench out. If Lakers bench outscores Minnesota, they're not losing that game. I think Minnesota will always probably outscore the Lakers bench, but you can't have just basically no-shows from the Lakers bench. All right, thank you very much for watching the clip. Just want to give a shout-out here to one of our partners, the Wallace Firm. They are official injury attorney of the Sliwa Show and Hoops Talk, the entire channel. If you are ever in a need, and I hope you're not, but some type of serious injury with yourself or a family member of yours, I would like to personally help you by introducing you to the best in the business, Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Also got a URL out here that you can use as well. Just go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Thank you for their partnership, and thank you for being a part of the Sliwa Show.